Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Now, I wasn't necessarily planning on doing a live stream tonight, and I haven't done one for a few weeks, maybe. It seems like about 6 months. But I did have a light topic I wanted to talk about tonight. Shouldn't take very long. Mainly, I just wanted to meet with you again, and I'll cover my ground here. And hey, Big Rob, good to see you right away, right off the bat here. Hope you're doing well. Are you in the Philippines at this time? I'm sure excited about our trip. We're going to be going in December. All right, great. I hope all is well, and I hope you're handling the heat. Oh, not quite yet. We're going to be going in December, and I know that's 6 months away, but I'm already starting to look forward to that. So I'm happy for you, Big Rob, and kind of one of the things I'm going to touch on tonight is about meeting my Filipina for the first time, and it's going to be called "Why I've Never Felt Uncomfortable with My Filipina Wife." Oh, you're going to be in Dubai instead. It's still going to be an exciting experience, I'm sure. And hopefully on your channel you'll have good news to share with how that goes. I'm going to talk about how I met my Filipino wife, and how I kept thinking, how come I have never been uncomfortable with her? Was there something wrong with me? That it kept bothering me. Why was I not uncomfortable with her? So I thought, well, let's just put some thoughts down and do a video on that. Just a personal note, I have not been feeling very good since last year, and kind of been wearing out. So that might be one reason I haven't been too excited to do a live stream lately. I missed 3 months of work. I wanted to miss another 3 months. Insurance company said no, so I had to go back to work and kind of struggle through things and try to recover, running around all day. So actually, last week was the best week I've had since last year, and only one bad day. And yesterday was good too. So I thought, well, I'll kind of celebrate, do a live stream here. Whoever shows up, shows up. That's great. Everybody else can watch it later. This is Love Beyond the Sea. I did come up with, I made a Facebook page. I welcome anybody to, what do you do with Facebook? Like the Facebook page. And I also have a Twitter account. Now, the Twitter account is going to be with what I call rooster nuggets, tweets, small pieces of information from a video, a recent video, and then you'll be able to, if you can't watch the video, don't have time to watch the video or listen to a longer video or even a 10-minute video, you'll be able to get these little rooster nuggets of information from the video in the form of a tweet. I'll put some love songs on there. You might want to look at those. Because I think they're good things to be able to send to a Filipina in your life. And Facebook, so yeah, you could, I guess, follow on Twitter and like the Facebook page. I'll put some older videos. I'm going to start from the back and move up because a lot of people have not seen the older ones. And I'll try to have a conversation starter regarding the video, put some love songs on there, something you can use for your Filipina. And eventually do some live videos with that, because I don't have enough subscribers to do a live on my phone in the Philippines. But now that I have a Facebook page, we'll be able to go live on Facebook. So that'd be kind of cool. Maureen, Michael, and Ken. Excuse me, I probably didn't say that right. Maureen, Michael, and Ken, or Maureen, Michelle, and Ken. I can't tell by looking at your avatar. It's a little too small for me right now. So thank you for joining me. I can't tell if you're a first-time person here, or somebody has changed their name around a little bit. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad Big Rob is here. And by the way, this won't take very long. And so anything you want to ask me about for relationship with a Filipina, please do. I have no qualms about answering your questions. This entire channel, Love Beyond the Sea, is about one thing, and that's you. It's unusual because it's not about me. It's not about my wife. It's not about the United States. It's not about the Philippines. It's about you. Anyone out there that's interested in why should I pursue a Filipina? What's so good about Filipinas? What's it like meeting one? What are the cultural differences? I don't think so yet. Bud 5000, welcome tonight. The Balut Challenge, huh? You know, once in a while, Bud, I think to myself, well, why don't we go ahead and do that? What's the worst that can happen? You know, but if I end up throwing up on live, you know, that would be something else. You know, I've heard somebody say it wasn't that bad. Other people, the expression on their face makes me think it was pretty bad. That's kind of low on my the totem pole, Bud 5000, but I haven't totally forgotten about that, about taking the Balut Challenge. And I tell you what, I don't even know if David Blaine would try to take the Balut Challenge, because you know he does some death-defying things, but the Balut Challenge might just be a little bit out of his range. But it is possible. So this channel is for you. It's a YouTube channel. It's not about our lives. It's about helping men understand Filipina and the nuances, you know, of being with a Filipina as compared to someone else. All women are alike, but there are differences with women from a different culture. Johnny Karate, I don't know about that, but I have no interest in eating an aborted duck fetus. Well, you know, it's supposed to be an aphrodisiac. It's supposed to, I can't say it's supposed to taste good. I don't know if Filipinos think it tastes good. Maybe if you're eaten it since birth, it doesn't taste bad. But the aphrodisiac properties might be worth doing and reporting in another video someday. Oysters, okay. You know, that's certainly a lot more appetizing for an aphrodisiac, and I have heard that about oysters, and you're probably right. So whatever, when I'm done here, whatever you want to talk about, if you want to talk about anything, we certainly can. I'm just feeling a little more alive tonight, so I had a little short thing to talk about. And what it is, I want to hear from others. If you have been involved in a Filipina, how did you feel when you first got together? You know, were you nervous? Were you self-conscious about something? Were you, you know, what was going through your mind when you first met this Filipina? You know, you can tell me what it was like when you first met her online. This here is about when I met her in person. But you know, the same thing can go for talking to a younger woman from the Philippines for the very first time. Your teeth are chattering, your knees are knocking, maybe, and you're wondering, you know, how does she feel about me talking to her? Is she uncomfortable? Is she nervous? You know, were you embarrassed? So if you feel like contributing along those lines, feel free to do so. I'm going to talk about, yeah, I'm impartial, of course. I married a Filipina, and I had always heard Filipinas make great wives. And the only reason I didn't think about it earlier, Big Rob, was I just assumed I could find a woman here in the United States of America. And I assumed wrong. When I got to be 50 or so on these dating sites, I got the impression that the women that were my age were only looking for men who were now younger than they were. So when I was 53, you know, we're talking maybe a 55, 56-year-old woman, and one 56-year-old woman wasn't, you know, didn't give me the time of day either. So I kind of threw my hands up in the air and said, okay, I give up. What am I supposed to do? Well, one thing many guys have done is go to the Philippines to meet a woman. Out of the body magical moment, uh, first time met in person. Yeah, Big Rob, it is it is a surreal experience. If you're there for the first time, you have to pinch yourself. Instantly, she is the one for you. Um, well, good for you. I mean, I think, I mean, that's another topic, I guess, for another video is, do you believe in love at first sight, or can you tell right away that somebody is the one for you? Um, if you don't mind, Big Rob, letting me know and think about how you want to answer this. But how did you know instantly that she's the one? I mean, uh, did things just come together after you've been talking? You were talking to her for a while online. Was there something about her personality or her persona or her mannerisms or her character or something that made you think she was the one? Um, in my case with Isa, um, I would say it was a little bit more business-like. Um, Now, some are going to get the wrong impression and say, "Oh, business transaction, financial transaction." Well, that's not what I mean, because we got married so quickly. There really wasn't a lot of time for feelings to develop because we got married so rapidly. It was like, I'm here to get a wife, and now I have one, or I just met her. And so it was all kind of straightforward. It doesn't mean that it was without emotion or excitement, because the whole situation is something I really relish. So let me get going here, and I'd love to talk to anybody about anything related to the topic or not. So I'll start by this. How was my marriage like rescuing someone from a burning house? Later, I will explain myself. From the very first moment I met my Filipino wife in person, there was never a moment of feeling uncomfortable with her. Considering I met her online 39 days earlier and now is meeting her to marry her, you'd think there might be some kind of insecurity, but really there was none. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I'm going to encourage you to find a Filipina to marry and help you succeed with her. Your comments are always welcome, and sharing any of these videos will help other men to find love beyond the sea. As I mentioned, it has always perplexed me how I could so rapidly propose to a younger woman from about 9,800 miles away, start immigration paperwork, and have her begin wedding invitations before I had ever met her in person. Not only that, but coming off a mind boggling Guinness Book of World Records, 30 years without a relationship, and that is certified officially in the Guinness Book of World Records. 30 years without a relationship. Um, you know, you'll have to watch other videos, to find out more about that. But I would have expected some kind of nervousness, maybe even a little anxiety, to see this person for the first time, marry her, honeymoon with her, and then fly back to the United States. The whole process was surreal. Part of me wishes that I could relive it all over again just so I could slow it down, maybe even enjoy the process more. It happened so quickly, yet at the same time, it seemed like it happened in slow motion because it felt like we had been communicating for a lot longer. So this video is about why is it that I've never felt uncomfortable with her, and despite our many differences. Yeah, Big Rob, we talked too. Well, you're going to say, no, you didn't, because we didn't talk for many days or weeks even, but we did consume a lot of hours, because she was the only one I was focusing on. That helps. I mean, if you're trying to focus your attention on half a dozen Filipinas at once, I think, and I've made a video on this, I'm sure, you shortchange, uh, you hurt yourself because you really cannot give your full attention to that many. And so it sounds like you focused on your Filipina, and that's what I did, and I think that really helped. So one possibility why I wasn't uncomfortable, maybe I was just consumed with all of these details. There's a lot to do in a short time when you propose to a woman in another country. Then you need to start the visa process, get a passport, ask for a whole month off of work, make an appointment at the embassy in Manila, then leave the country for the very first time in your life. I don't even think my mother understood I was going to the Philippines to get married, not just to visit the woman I had been telling her about. I think she thought I was just going to go visit. I know it probably caught everybody by surprise. The travel plans. Sometimes I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, probably because I didn't, but I was just trying to take it one quick step at a time. Thankfully, there was a passport weekend right around the corner when after I proposed to Isa, which allowed me to get the passport quickly, and I had that expedited. Only took about a week or so. And somehow I learned I needed immunizations along the line, so I got those. Almost missed the flight from LA to Manila when I didn't check in, but at the time, new to travel, I didn't even know what checking in meant with these airlines. My travel agent told me, but it went right past me. The plane had boarded when I just showed up to the terminal because I didn't know what to do. When I got to LAX, I stood in the wrong line, thanks to the person who told me to do that, then called my agent, who was fortunately at work, and told me I needed to take a shuttle. Well, somehow I got on the plane and it took off. I remember repeating, "You've got to get me on that plane. I'm going there to get married." When things started to slow down after meeting with her, I still never felt uncomfortable or out of place with her. Why didn't I consider doing K1? I assume K1 is a fiance visa. I never did understand those Ks. I guess let me answer that in case that's what you mean. If consider doing a K1 visa, that I did at first. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to have my Pastor Scott. Got a video with him in it. Marry us, but after talking to Isa, I realized how important it was that we marry in the Philippines. She wanted me to go there and meet her family and everyone, and so that's what I did. Um, Looking back on it now, um, I am on the record as saying I think that would be, all in all, probably the best way, at least for the Filipina, because then everybody has a chance to say goodbye. The whole marriage ceremony is an opportunity for them to, celebrate and yet kind of also say goodbye, not for good, hopefully. Filipina probably has no idea how often she's going to come back to the Philippines, when she's going to make her next trip. So we did that there. And so after we got married, I think that was on, I think I stuck around for probably another 12 days before I had to leave on what was May 22nd of 2015. 12 days. We got married on May 10th. So mostly, J Bud, that was because, she preferred we get married in the Philippines. Um, was I being foolish? Was I being foolish somehow? And that kind of kept me from being uncomfortable with my wife. Well, to be honest with you, at this time, I was not aware of the risk of getting scammed. At least I don't recall that I was. I don't think I had the time to be informed of that because I spent what seemed like 3 months in constant contact with my amazing Isa, even though it was really only 18 days before proposing to her. As I've explained in other videos, I knew all I needed to know and felt no reason to wait any longer to marry her. I prefer the word aggressive to foolish because foolish indicates making an uneducated, unprepared decision that is likely to lead to ruin. After having time to reflect on our relationship, I still never felt uncomfortable or out of place with her. Right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, sure. A lot of guys can't get a month off. And that's why the K1 can be helpful. Yeah, I understand that. Fortunately for me, let's see, I went on met her in person April 25th. I think I left on the 24th, met her on the 25th. proposed to her in person on the 26th of April. I usually don't use any vacation until after July 1st because I just don't want to use any of it up. Then you kind of get spoiled and then you want to take more time off, so I usually wait till July anyway, um, which is what we're going to do this year. I won't take any full week until the end of August, but then I did miss, first month of this year and the last 2 months of last year. So can't say I was well rested, but yeah, that's true. That's true. And if a man is still working, he's not retired, then that's a lot of time off. But you can't even get married the first 10 days. So we could have got this done in about 40 days. I think it's probably a rule there for the first time. You can't just land and get married. You have to wait 10 days. There's marital counseling. There's things you have to do. But we had wedding preparations that kept us busy. But you're exactly right about that. First dates and blind dates, even in the U.S., can make you nervous. And maybe now that you said that, Jay Bud, I mean, I've been on a blind date. Yeah, I was nervous. In this case with Isa, I had all the time I thought I needed to contact her. And I was never nervous with her. And quite frankly, I wasn't nervous with any of the Filipinas I talked to in the few days before I met Isa. They're all very pleasant. If you don't know, probably, if anybody's going to be nervous, it'll be the foreigner. The Filipinas seem quite comfortable and pleasant and friendly, talkative, outgoing, maybe a little shy, but not afraid, not nervous, not scared, not uncomfortable. And so if you've spoken to somebody for many hours and then you go meet them, I suppose it takes a lot of the chill off in that situation. But nevertheless, it's such a new, different experience. Hey, Phil's the Phoenix. How are you? Thank you for stopping by tonight. And John, I'd like your opinion, or not your opinion, but your experience on this, if you don't mind. We're talking about how you feel when you first meet this woman from the Philippines. A lot of guys aren't going there to marry her like I did. They're just going there to meet her for the first time. Might be the first time out of the country, the first time in the Philippines. They might be thinking, man, what am I doing? This woman is half my age, and I don't understand the culture, or this is so far away. Have I gone overboard? Am I losing it? What was your experience, or anyone else that has a Filipina girlfriend, fiance, wife? When you first met her, did you have to deal? Were you worried about what other people thought? Like people back in your home country, were you worried about what the people in the Philippines would think? Were you uncomfortable with what her family or her friends would think? That's the sort of thing I'm kind of would like to know about, and I'm just going to relate my own experience there. Jay Budd, I've chatted several Panays that took several chats before she moved their hand from in front of her mouth. They were, yeah, very, very, very noticeably shy. The ones I met were just, oh, hi, sir, very happy, smiling, waiting for me to talk. And that really caught me off guard, because here in the United States, you're lucky to get anybody to talk to you, it seems, on a dating site. I don't know that I ever Skyped with anybody on 4 dating sites. I did them twice. Very, very difficult to do, but and that's true. Like I mentioned, they are shy, but some of them seem to maybe have more experience with foreigners, and so you might be thinking, boy, I bet this woman's never spoken to an older foreigner like me. It's quite possible she has, and maybe that's why she's so comfortable, because often the age is not that big a deal in the Philippines. But I can see what you're saying there. So here's something here: preparation plus opportunity equals success. Preparation plus opportunity equals success. I felt well prepared by learning everything I could about marriage over those 3 decades. And that was punctuated with a lot of depression, because I desperately wanted to get going in a relationship, only to be met head on by roadblocks. And it's by God's grace I didn't end my life, because there were times I would ask myself, why are why are you why are you still doing this? Why are you banging your head in the wall? This is not going to end well. How do you know it's going to end well? Never going to happen. Nothing's happened yet. And I just I kept going. Our relationship was not an overnight sensation. I had been searching before she was even born. I knew before she was born I needed a wife, and I started looking for one, and I started praying for one, and then she was born, 9,800 miles away. It's little wonder it took so long. Now, if I had known about that, maybe it would have been easier to wait. Maybe not. I would have thought 30 years or 20 more years. Are you kidding? How am I supposed to handle that? Um, well, the good thing is, and hopefully nobody else does this, don't give up. I mean, just don't give up. I just couldn't give up as badly as I wanted to get married. I couldn't have lived with myself. I was driven. I just had to be married. I told myself that. And when my wife right away offered me her focus if I would do the same, life was breathed into my hopes like God breathed life into Adam. Okay, maybe that's a little dramatic there. Um, if their family is close by or friends, they can be more self-conscious. The foreigner, I suppose. Um, yeah, I mean, here's the thing with us. When I proposed, well, first I asked her family's permission. I say family because I was going to ask her father, but the whole family was there on Skype. And so they all huddled around in view of the camera. Eyes went off to the side. I have a video on this. And I asked her father, you know, if I could marry her daughter, or his daughter. I talked about how we had met online. I know it wasn't very long ago, sir, but I really like your daughter. I want to take care of her. I think she's a great person. I'm really serious about her, and I'd like your permission to marry her. So and then other family members, a couple brothers were asking me questions. So already, before I had met my wife, I kind of related to her parents. I mean, her whole family. Like Phil's Phoenix, like you and Isa, when I went, we knew that we were getting married and had been building a relationship for 6 months. So you probably weren't all that nervous or uncomfortable. And that's, I'm glad you mentioned building a relationship for 6 months, John, because people can be online with somebody and not necessarily build a relationship. Um, I've done a video or two on questions to ask when you're getting to know somebody in the early stages, and that's designed to build not just a rapport, but a relationship, to see um, if you might be right for each other, and then build something, construct something. If you weren't nervous on the plane ride over there, I commend you. I think most guys are worried about in-person stage fright and possible rejection. Well, um, I knew she wouldn't reject me because we were going to get married. I mean, I had already gotten an agent who I just recommended to someone else that just got back from the Philippines, because I think he's going to go down there again and propose to the woman that he met. And this guy was great. We started the paperwork before I even got on the plane. There's certain things you can prepare in PDF form with the names and information as if the marriage had already taken place. Now, that's not official. It can't be sent in, but you can get the forms in PDF form, and you start filling it out, and you start asking questions. Well, what does a surname mean? I don't think I still know what his surname is, but we found out what it is and we filled that out correctly. On the I-130 spousal visa, you fill it out. Uh, if you do it ahead of time, as if you already are married. So her name changes because the middle name now change well, it drops off, and then their last name becomes their middle name. We kind of argued about that for a while because I was concerned she was filling it out wrong, because we don't do it that way here in America. That's the way they do it in the Philippines, and it wasn't questioned because the embassy knows that's how they do it there. So there was no fear of rejection. I'm glad you mentioned that, though, because that can be the case if you're going out there to see what kind of chemistry you have, and see if the person you've been talking to online for a while is the person that you think they are. Yeah, there could be some worries. What if you get all the way out there and they're not? Or something doesn't smell right, or they don't look the same, or you feel like you got snookered. Um, but yeah, that didn't happen. The plane ride, felt like an eternity. Um, my back was so sore, I didn't really have time to really think about what I was going to do, because I was spent most of the time standing up, sitting down, walking around, sitting down, standing up again. It was bad. Always bring some pain pills with you if you're going to be sitting for that long, especially if you have a bad back, like I do. Spent my first night in her brother's condo in Manila before going to Cebu and meeting her family. So you got to ease yourself into the whole experience. Were you nervous, John, about meeting your family? Because I had met them, it was just online, and they had seen me when I was Skyping with Isa. They were in the background. We'd say hi, or maybe Isa would translate something. So, in fact, my mom and my aunt spoke to her, and were able to kind of get a little translation done with her family too before I left, I think, and then afterwards. So yeah, our families kind of knew each other. Uh, Phil's Phoenix, for me, it actually helped because it removed a lot of the physical issues and temptations. We chatted daily for as long as possible each day. Me too. Several times we spent 8+ hours online together. And I know you didn't talk for 8 hours, right? You probably, I don't know, played a game, watched a movie. What that's not a bad idea, because then you're kind of doing something you would do on a date here, watch a movie, Netflix or something. I know we didn't do that, but some people do. They watch movies together online from so far away. Iz and I, once in a while, would eat together. I would eat breakfast, she would eat dinner. She would eat a breakfast, I would eat dinner, and just talk about our day, talk about what was upcoming. And that's just so exciting. I think once you've narrowed it down to one person that you expect is going to be the person that it's going to work out with, you're very excited. But it's still a whole different thing to have to go thousands of miles, and in my case, 4 flights to get there. Um, I've done it 3 times now. It's gotten easier each time, but I even told her mother the first time she asked me, "Am I ever going to come back to the Philippines and visit?" And I said, "To be honest with you, Mama, no. It's so long. My back was so sore." Well, 7 months later, we were back. Um, I shouldn't say 7 months. 7 months after my wife got here, we went back. Then we went back 2 years later. Now we're going to go back again. So I think I've learned how to handle those long flights. It helps not to complain about it. Um, I complain more about the TSA now than I do the long flights. That's not good either. Yeah, chatted as often as possible. It kind of builds up some excitement to go down there. Actually got into a disagreement at the SSA office over the name change format. I know it. The agent at first didn't want to change her name that way, saying it was changing 2 names. You have to do it differently. When I saw her new name on the paper, I thought, well, hon, what if this is wrong? And yeah, we did have a few minor spats over the paperwork, which is why another reason why I think it's important, if you can afford it to have an agent do it, they'll make sure, because the forms seem like they haven't changed forever. Um, and sometimes I got the impression they probably could have used some polishing up. So I was really grateful to my agent that he explained what exactly what was being looked for by that question or that line that you had to fill out, because sometimes I just didn't think it made a whole lot of sense. Her dad speaks English passably, so that helped with the comfort levels. Yep, that would indeed. In the old days, Jay Budd points out, guys wrote letters prior to meeting, and the reply letters took weeks to get back. Imagine that. Well, I know somebody, a man that married a Filipina, the first man that I ever knew that married a Filipina. That must have been, could have been back in the 90s. Um, that was before the internet, because I know they were communicating in letters, and it did take a while. And now they've been married a long time. They've got several children. They've been over to our place a couple times. I think we went out to eat with them one time. So small world, you know. And then little by little, we've gotten to know more Philam couples, and that's been really good for her. But yeah, thankfully with the internet and a lot of guys too, Jay Bud, like me, they didn't have, you know, smartphones. They didn't have these cameras up here, webcams. They had not webcammed with anybody before. There's a lot of technical things here that, you know, are new for an older guy, 50s or 60s, and he's embarking in this new world of, you know, dating online, international dating. And yeah, there's the whole process before you meet her can be um, intimidating, but then getting to meet her, you know, whole nother ball game there. Phil Phoenix says we'd watch TV series together each week. That's a good idea. We went on several drives together by putting the phone on. Okay, putting the phone on the dash and using headphones to talk. I'm not that clever, so I wouldn't have thought of that. Yeah, we you had to get creative. And you know what, John, if you haven't done already, that might be a good topic for your channel. Um, Creative ways to communicate with your Filipina before you meet. Um, I can't do that because I wasn't creative, but it sounds like you are. So that might be something to do, because a lot of guys will ask the question, what do I do now? You know, how do you spend so much time together? I had a guy at work tell me 15 minutes a day should be plenty, maybe 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And I told him, uh, I don't know. That's just not me. Um, I want to, I like to talk. I like to find things out. Um, you want to learn to talk without being interrogative, or without interrogating the Filipina. Just ask good questions, you know, and talk about your day, and just keep building on what you did before. And there's no time limit. Just because some people spend 2 or 3 hours a day communicating with their Filipina does not mean every man has to do that. Everybody just has to kind of, you know, do what works for the two of them. So here's another possibility. Was I overly emotional to start? Is this why I wasn't uncomfortable with her? Is it possible I was too emotional considering the long dry spell I was coming off of, the rejection, the unanswered prayers? Did that somehow interfere with the ability to recognize the situation I had gotten myself into that should have made me uncomfortable? I don't think so. I had already endured the long wait and now had a chance to finally do what I had always wanted to do. I just wasn't expecting it to be with somebody so far away. 50 miles away to me was too far. I think all the groundwork for the relationship had already been put into place over the years, and I felt like I was in sound body and mind, although there were some times that I wasn't too sure about that. Google Maps and Google Earth, you can look around her neighborhood and ask her about different places. They love it. I trust you, Jay Bud. I know you've had communication with a lot of Filipinas. You really know quite a bit that can be helpful to someone. Um, Google Maps. I did get that before I went to the Philippines. Uh, Somehow somebody suggested it maybe, and I kept playing around, starting off from where I was to where I was going, and there's a plane just going and going and going and going and going before it lands. And I thought, I'm doing this. I didn't even know exactly where the Philippines was. I mean, my whole focus was on meeting this, getting to know this person, and then going to meet them. I didn't care if they were on, Timbuktu. I just wanted to, to find somebody and get married. Yeah, if she has the app, she can see where you are, uh, or at least how very far away it is. If she ever flies to your country, fiance visa, spousal visa, she'll know exactly how far away it is. Um, was I in love with being in love? Fair question. So perhaps, as they say, I was in love with being in love, and that maybe clouded my emotions. That's emotional, which I already dismissed a minute ago. But being in love is a wonderful thing. But I knew full well there would be the usual difficulties all couples face, not to mention the nuances of an international bicultural one. I was also working a lot of hours, so that allowed me to come back down to earth and temper my emotions. Was I thinking at all? Maybe I wasn't even thinking when I went down there, and that's why I wasn't really uncomfortable. I mean, it did go by pretty fast. Well, it's not like I was a zombie. I had kept my pastor abreast of all the details by regularly meeting with him, in emails, on the phone. We go out to eat, pay, take him to lunch, and bounce ideas off of him. And he was a person who encouraged me to not give up trying to find a wife. That's a video I should link, so I will do that. I made one where I interviewed him after my wife arrived from the Philippines. If my thought process had been askew, he would have cautioned me, but the only minor concern that he had was that he thought it would be better if my fiance was just a few years older. However, she was and is a mature woman. Um, Maybe it was just meant to be, but why was I not nervous when I met her at the airport, um, after my luggage was lost? Why was I not afraid finding myself in another country a million miles away? Why was I not embarrassed or self-conscious on our wedding night? Why has it seemed like we were meant to be together? Probably because we were meant to be together. I never concerned myself with how quickly we got married, um, although it was pretty quick. I only concerned myself with committing to her and accomplishing what I had long considered my mission, to get married. Now, a big thing here, my wife has not given me a reason to be uncomfortable. Not then, not now. All the other things I've mentioned are part of this, but the clincher is my wife. She has been as steady as they come. She has accepted our relationship as any other, and so have I. I mean, how exactly were we, supposed to feel when we got married this quick? If there were a high degree of discomfort and doubt, that would mean something was wrong, possibly. It has been straightforward, but at no time has our experience been without emotion. We were both excited to get married, and no time has my wife said anything about us getting married too fast. Both of us believe we are an answer to each other's prayers, although the circumstances surrounding our coming together were certainly quite different. She was 26, I was 53. That has never been a topic of conversation between us. We both had prayed for a spouse. I wanted to be married. She wanted to be married. I proposed to her. She accepted. I met her as I said I would. And we got married in the Philippines in 2015. In January 2016, she arrived to be with me. Um, I will get to that analogy after J Bud's comment. Rike's latest video does an unbelievable job of breaking down the different categories of dating women in the Philippines. You can plug anybody's channel here. I like Rike's channel. I've contacted him on Facebook. Rike was nice enough months ago, last year, to actually put one of my videos on his Facebook page. So I respect him for that. That video is called something like "Why My Channel is Called Love Beyond the Sea," and he got in touch with me and said, I want to promote your channel, help you get some exposure. And so he put it on his Facebook, a very, very nice gesture, well appreciated. Some of his followers didn't appreciate that so much, but, Rika is matter of fact, straightforward. He doesn't take things too hard or personally. And, um, you know, he even copied my uh, whole script I had for the video, or at least what I could get in 5,000 characters, where I carefully explained why I was not trying to steal his channel name or anything like that, um, because our channels are not the same. In many ways, has a great channel. He's out in Vietnam now, so I have no doubt that he did do an unbelievable job of breaking down the different categories of dating women in the Philippines. I may have caught that video. I can, when you have a channel, or I suppose anybody subscribes to other channels, you'll turn on your go to YouTube, and then you'll get some updates on some other people that you subscribe to. And I know he has one. Maybe that's what you're referring to. In fact, if it was, I was going to listen to it on the way home. So I may do that tomorrow, because he does have outstanding information on the Philippines, no question about it. Um, my channel is more about relationships. And when we're in the Philippines someday, yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk more about the Philippines. So yeah, if everybody, head on over sometime, and check out that video that Jay Bud recommends. No problem with that. I mean, he's as good as there is with his vast experience, and is very thoughtful, very articulate, and I'm sure that's an excellent video. And Filipinas, I think, do make fantastic wives, and that's what my major is. Um, I think it's just great that there's people out there doing videos on different nationalities, because a lot of people just, can't find somebody where they are. And there are other good countries to find a wife besides the Philippines. Beyond the sea is just out there. It's in another country, um, and than your own. And if you have to do that, you want to explore all your options before you just say, look, it's just not in the cards. It's not going to happen. So for me, it was the Philippines, and I do want to encourage other men who are kind of kicking the tires or just mulling it over. Save up the money. Learn how to communicate online. Learn what to look for. There's endless amount of videos on what to look for to avoid being scammed. Certainly, recommend my channel as well. I'm a pretty serious guy. Relationship, everything is serious to me. I've always said there's no such thing as a small thing with me. So yeah, relationships are pretty important. So that's what this channel is about. So here I'm going to use this analogy. Maybe I shouldn't, but it does come to mind. It was sort of like rescuing someone from a burning house when I met my wife, because you don't take or have the time to consider the consequences or risks. You just know you have to do something, and you better do it quick. You see potential destruction and disaster, and you have to make a move to save somebody. You don't consider getting burned. You only focus on the outcome that you believe must happen, and you will risk it all to save a life. In this analogy, the burning house was my wife, my dreams, my need for a wife. I could feel the heat from the flames. I could already feel weakness and dread that it might burn down for good. Inside the house was this little woman from Davao City, Philippines, who I needed to save from the burning house and my future too. And I ran further and faster than I thought I was capable of. I didn't die. I didn't get burned. I didn't act in foolish haste. I knew what was at stake. I might not get this opportunity again. I felt like my dreams were burning down to the ground, and I couldn't let that happen. And I am sure many of you who have married a Filipina can say, when it's right, it's right. Or when it's right, you know it. So please leave a comment about your love story, what it was like when you met in person. If you're inclined, and I'm still pinching myself over hours. Although I was alone for many years, these days I feel like our souls have always been meant to be together. It just feels right. The past was all meant to be too, but these days my focus is on my future with my love beyond the sea. So I appreciate everybody that's still there or been here. Anybody that will watch this video later, if there's anything you want to talk about, since it's only been like 49 minutes or so, Jay Bud, you're always a wealth of information. Phil to Phoenix, you have a lot to share. I don't know if Big Rob is still here or not. That was earlier. Johnny Karate. Um, Jay Bud, I'm not going to promise you anything about the balut. It makes my head spin. I feel weak just thinking about it. And that's probably the problem with balut. You can't think about it. You just have to. You just have to eat it. Couple of MGTOWs took the brown pill. Now, who are the couple of MGTOWs that took the brown pill? Brown pill, brown, picture earth, dirt, ground, land. Brown pill is, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. I'm going to have to break new ground if I'm going to find a wife, because this is not working. I'm going to have to take the brown pill. Brown could be the color of leaves, autumn, fall, and that you're at that point in your life where you got to start getting serious. So you take the brown pill. Well, okay, I know who you're referring to, but I don't know a whole lot of the details, Jay Bud. But if somebody is taking the brown pill, then at least they now can make some progress, as opposed to taking the red pill and kind of psyching yourself out that maybe it's too difficult to do. The ugly truth, the ugly reality is that all women are the same, and I don't know, you got to be perfect, or it's impossible, they'll never want you. Then you start taking the black pill and becoming very bitter and negative, and you kind of defeat yourself, and then no women are good, and then there's no hope, and that's just a dark place to be. Hey, I've been there thinking this is impossible, this is nuts. How am I ever going to find anybody? What's my problem? Well, I don't know. If I had a problem, Isa and I get together really good. I mean, we just do. We've always been comfortable. Now, going from MGTOW to taking the brown pill and looking for a wife overseas, there's a lot of attitude adjustment that has to happen in that short amount of time. There's good and bad women all over the world, not just Filipinas. Zonalyn Filipina Life in USA. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. Thank you for being here. Yeah, there's good and bad women everywhere. There are Filipinas that you have to watch out for, just like someone in your own country. It's expanding your options. It's a huge world. There's more countries than I ever knew existed. It doesn't mean they're all, are going to be compatible for somebody looking for a wife. I married a Filipina. Zonalyn, where are you in the United States? Do you mind telling me where you are? We're here in Nebraska. Throw a dart in the middle of the country, and you probably hit where we are. Phil's to Phoenix from Arizona, and we brought our Filipinas here, and probably have not had any more trouble than anybody else would with somebody from their own country. So, yeah, they're bad women. You want to look for the good ones, marriage-minded ones, but they're more bad than good here in the USA. Well, I just I couldn't get anywhere. You know, thing is more disinterest, on their part for with me. Um, yeah, and some Filipinos want to get married uh, too bad or for the wrong reasons. Other Filipinas simply want a good, decent, mature man that will be faithful to them, that will provide for them, that will embrace their family, and that's what I try to do with Isa. Yes, my husband's from New York, but I don't like the cold. I can get very cold there. Just moved to Texas. Probably can get cold some places there. Um, we've been in a cold spell and a wet spell here. It seems like we haven't even had spring yet. Very long winter, just a lot of rain. It rained again today. We've had flooding here in Nebraska. Um, big cities, big states: New York, Texas, San Antonio, J. Bud, um, San Antonio, Texas. Another place I haven't been. I don't think I've been near there. I've been to some places, but not a whole lot. Heard the same from your hubby. Well, I'm glad he found you. Can you say what dating site your husband found you, Zonalind? I met my wife on Christian Filipina. I know there's a lot of them, a lot of different sites out there. Literally, there's I think thousands of dating sites to marry a woman in the Philippines. 12 years. Congratulations to you and your husband. Myself, we just passed 4 years of marriage, which I can't believe. Immigration capital of the U.S. Only problem, none are here legally. Yeah, we have a big problem with that. Loveme.com. That sounds like a new site, but evidently I just heard it for the first time. If you married 12 years, then yeah, it's been out there. And I think you can find somebody probably on any site. Some may be more riddled with scammers than others, but there are genuine Filipinas looking to be a good wife to a good, decent man, and the man just has to believe that she's there. But if he intimidates himself into thinking they're all scammers, they're all after his money, then he's going to start looking at even a good potential candidate through that lens. That okay, well, she's just stringing me along, and that may not be. I don't know if I've done a video on trust. I know I've prepared to do one. I've actually written 150 videos that I just haven't had time to do because I like writing them, but I have to tape them too. And that's about the point we're at right now. I actually have like 200, 210, 212 video topics that I just jot down when I think of it so I don't forget. And I've forgotten some too. And then put notes down on them and save it and get back to it some other time. And when it's complete, make a video. Yeah, Christian Filipina. Oh, I don't intentionally necessarily. I'm not paid by Christian Filipina, but that's where we met. It was my wife's first day to join. She hadn't even got her profile approved. All I saw was a picture. I thought she was cute. I winked at her, started to go back up to work, and then she got back to me, and I said, "Okay, well, can I talk to you at lunch, at my time lunch?" I didn't know it was like 12 or 13 hours. It would have been 12 hours later that time of year. And she said, "Well, it'll be like 2 in the morning or something, but I'll try to stay up, and I'm not feeling well." First indication to me that she might have been serious, and she was. So Christian Filipina, it does have a tremendous reputation. Do they have scammers there? Yeah, and they try to boot them boot them right out of there where they came from when they find them. Guys, there's a lot of people, even they're not Filipinos, but living in the Philippines that make Philippine profile and scam other people online for money. Watch out. Yeah, you have to be careful. Um, Zonalyn, while you're here, can you list several tricks that someone might use to try to scam a foreigner? I'm sure your husband was concerned about that, like we all are, because we've read the stories and we don't want to be another casualty of somebody that's a scammer. Um, but yeah, that's true. Not even Filipinas, maybe not even a woman, and getting people to think they are. That's why you have to meet in person. But there could be a thought in the back of your mind: uh, have I really been communicating with a woman? Well, I mean, if you're Skyping with them, then that's the person. You just have to make sure that they're not also communicating with several others. Now, if you're spending like Phyllis the Phoenix and I did, you're spending several hours a day, sometimes like half the day. They don't have time to communicate with anybody else. So, yeah, they probably are for real. Oh, yeah, better to check her Facebook, meet her on webcam. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I was just going to say, thanks, Zonalyn. Look her circle of friends in Facebook, her family background. That's very wise because maybe you can catch her saying something there that she slips up. Um, I don't know. That's a good. This is it can be risky business, so you have to do your due diligence. That's good advice. I appreciate that. Um, Go to Facebook. Um, I mean, maybe she's got multiple Facebooks, which could be an issue. But looking at her friends, and friends, maybe you come up with something. Maybe you think you're communicating with her, and you find out that she's talking about you to somebody else, or she's talking with another man. Checking out Cindy's Facebook was a big thing for me. Phil's the Phoenix. Um, my wife is so private. I can't even remember if she had a. I'm sure she had a Facebook. I probably never saw it. I probably never asked about it or used it before. Um, but we just did everything through Skype, and she Skyped from home, and so the family was milling around, and so they could hear what she was saying, and they knew what she was doing, and um, you know, my wife was honest with me, but she wanted she wanted to get married. She wanted somebody serious, and I was definitely all of that. And now I could have been serious, and she could have said, "Well, you're serious, but you're not my type, or you don't have the personality I was looking for." Personality and character is important with a Filipina. It absolutely is. Back in the day, Facebook was not a thing. So, me and my husband only kept talking on Messenger, Yahoo. A lot of people did that. Yeah, on camera. That's big. It's a big thing. I've got a video on talking to a Filipina on webcam to help a foreigner be more comfortable with that. Was your husband comfortable, Zonal, when he started chatting with you on camera? Even that might have been somewhat new back then. I like doing it now. Thing is, though, I remember we were fighting every 10 minutes with the what do you call it? The connection, uh, losing the connection. That's a frustrating thing. When you're talking to a Filipino in the Philippines, you might lose the connection. So that does happen. We used Viber and Skype. Those were our two main ones. First, he was shy, but we both were shy. Yeah, and then on camera, both families meet too. Well, that's a great idea. Why not incorporate more with that camera and let your family see who you're talking to, introduce them to your family? I think that breaks the ice. I think that's a good idea. Now, I just had my apartment, so there was never anybody there. Uh, but I did have my mom come over and my aunt, and they talked to Isa. After all, I was going to marry her, and I'll tell you what. When my wife arrived here, January 11th of 2016, um, my mother was very familiar with her. I'd bring the phone over to my mom when she was sitting down and say, "Okay, here's Isa," and or here's some of the family or children. Actually, they probably weren't children back then, 3 and 4 years ago. Um, but my mom was crying when Isa got here. We surprised her. We told my mother that that we are gonna go together to pick Isa up at the airport on Wednesday. Only Isa got here on a Monday, so we surprised her. Isa hid behind the door. I rang the doorbell. My mom answers the door and says, "Hon, why are you at the front door? You always come through the garage." And Isa turns around, and my mom's in shock, and she's in tears. And I have that video. Isa will not let me show it to anybody, so I can't. But I sure would if I could. It was quite a memorable moment. Zonalyn, Filipino Life in USA. Yes, Internet Cafe was full because I used to go to Net Cafe to talk to him. Yeah, brought your whole squad. Um, those are exciting days, and there's risk for the Filipina. As you know, Zonalyn, going to the conference for Filipinas overseas, they'll try to shake you up a little bit about what might happen, what you can do if things go sour. When my wife went to that conference, the way she was talking is like, okay, hon, what are they telling you? Why do you talk like this? Because they scare you. They say, if this happens, do this, and this might happen. So be prepared and call this number and seek help if that happens. Scaring them. So got to get the sticker for your passport, and then you are ready to leave the Philippines. Now, Zonalyn, have you been back to the Philippines in 12 years? And if so, if you don't mind, how many times? Um, and has your husband been, well, your husband, I don't know, I assume he's been to the Philippines. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe, just curious about that. Uh, if you have been back to the Philippines, because homesickness, I know, is a terrible, terrible thing for a Filipino to go through. All of your husband's family is worried of him. Yeah, when he flew to meet me that day, 2006. Well, they're thinking, what is he thinking? And so yeah, I think people at work thought I was crazy. I think they thought I wasn't serious, that I was kidding, and I just took a long vacation and didn't go anywhere. Then a friend at work took some of our wedding photos from, I don't know, Viber, Facebook, I don't know, and then he printed them off and put them at work on the window so people can see Eyes and I together. And yeah, he really did it. He really went out there and married this woman. He just didn't know for very long. But I knew what I needed to know, what I wanted to know, and we're just going to build it from the bottom up, which is what we did. Oh yeah, well, it's a big step, and he had to trust his instincts with you, Zonalyn, and say, I think this is going to work out. I'm going. Phil's the Phoenix. Before Cindy and I got here, she'd met several friends, a pastor from church, a couple coworkers. I seem to remember she had a chat with one of my sisters, and that's a good idea. We don't have much family here at all, very small. So when my mother and aunt were able to talk to Isa, that was about everybody, And so my sister passed away from cancer at probably age 49, and maybe it no, might have been 51. And she told me I'm going to marry a Filipina one day because she knew I liked Filipinas, and I had never thought about marrying a Filipina. I thought of marrying an American because that's where I was. Ended up marrying a Filipina. My sister was right. I feel so stupid for telling her, that's ridiculous. How am I going to marry a Filipina? I can't marry anybody here. Well, that was the solution. Marry someone from another country. Marry someone in the Philippines. We used to live there after we got married in the U.S. because I got homesick. Then we just moved back to USA 2016. Yeah, I live in the Philippines. We have every intention of retiring the Philippines in about 4.5 years at the earliest, maybe. Depends on circumstances. I want to retire first so I can get Social Security, which you have to be 62 in order to collect Social Security. And then we're going to be in the Philippines. We already have a house there. We're going to stay there in 6 months. And I'm excited about going back to the Philippines. I tell you what, the Philippines has a real special place in my heart. And I think about it a lot. And my wife and I are starting to talk about it more. We have a Bollock buy-in box right down here. And I know there. I'm glad we're in the basement because this box is so heavy. If it were upstairs, it might come crashing through um, the floor because I tried picking it up and I can't. I had to move it. I had to back up and push and drag it. I don't know how we're going to get this thing upstairs, and we're going to need a crane or something. My wife's got it heavily reinforced. Um, she's got a lot of weight in that thing, but we're going to send some gifts back and some things to her family. I know it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. But then we don't have to bring so much with us when we go to the Philippines. Zona Lynn says, my struggle when I first came here was that I didn't know how to drive. Your husband's house was in the countryside of New York, far from the city. Oh boy! And then I had no friends, very lonely. I can picture that. That would be tough. And unless you're from the province, you may have been used to people all over the place. Now, if you're going to go from a place of, you know, 2 million people, my wife's from Davao, 2 million daytime population in Davao City. And she, uh, she likes the small towns. We've been to some small towns. My aunt just moved to one. It's like 5,000 people. She really likes these small towns of 5,000 people. Branson, Missouri. She said, "Hon, I want to move. I want to live in Branson, Missouri." Branson, Missouri is like 5,200. It's absolutely beautiful there. Lots of trees. Um, she says, "Hon, there's no police here. Must be a safe place." Yeah, we've been to Branson a couple times. Never seen a police car. Pretty cool place. I like it. I like Branson. My wife likes those small towns. Maybe she feels like she wants to get away from what she's used to. Um, you can drive now, I assume, Zonalyn. Although, I mean, learning to drive in a really busy place can be challenging. Where we live, it's not nearly as daunting as driving in the Philippines. Although I think my wife wants to drive there. We might even drive there this December. I might even drive there in December. I think my license carries over from the US to the Philippines. I don't want to drive anywhere crowded, but that would be an experience. I know Phil Phoenix has no trouble driving in the Philippines. Very brave man. But he's also eaten balut. Probably ate balut while driving in the Philippines. That takes a lot of guts. Um, my wife loves to drive, by the way, and she didn't drive either until she got here. She loves driving. Da, da, da. Oh, Zona Lynn says her husband's dream is to go back when he retires. Yep, he loves it so much. He said people are nicer and laid back compared to USA. Yes, they are. You're from Davao too? Um, Davao City. What I learned about Davao when I went to marry my wife was it was a so-called progressive city, and lots of building going up there. Of course, I voted for President Duterte. Well, I would have. I know my wife is a big Duterte fan, and I think she's met some of his family even. I don't know if she went to school with them or I don't know how that worked out. Um, so, yeah, I learned in Davao. He bought me old car. Okay, practiced before he got licensed in 2009. That's uh, that's a good idea. An old car to practice. Um, I give you a lot of credit for practicing in Davao. You probably had to learn with a stick shift because there aren't a lot of automatic transmissions. So I used a lot of manuals. My wife, believe it or not, they taught her on a big vehicle with a manual transmission, and now she drives an automatic, which is simple. I can't even drive a stick. I never have. Um, but if we end up teaching some of her family how to drive, it'll probably be with that with a stick shift, um, not an automatic. That's the easy way. I'm glad you can drive. I don't think I saw any Filipinas drive in the 3 times I've been in the Philippines. I'm always amazed if I see a Filipina on one of those scooters, which occasionally you do. Um, my wife had a scooter. She was afraid to drive it or ride it, but she's really comfortable with the car now. I'm not worried about my wife driving. I still pray for her several times a day when she drives, but I'm mostly for other people because, boy, some people drive like they're the only ones on the road. It scares me to death. No, I haven't ridden a scooter over there. Um, Phil's, have you? Have you ridden one? I know her brother offered to teach me one time. I haven't even been on a bike. The last time I was on a bicycle, about 20 years ago, I almost got killed. I got going so fast and I couldn't get my feet came off the, the pedals and I thought, I am going to die. I don't know how I even came to a stop. But you got to have some sense of balance, I would think. Maybe it's not as hard as it looks, but I've always thought, motorcycles were kind of dangerous. I saw a motorcycle accident one time. Maybe that's why. Um, I would have to have a helmet. I would have to have full body armor before I would get on a scooter and ride around. And full body armor in that heat in the Philippines would be pretty difficult. That's for sure. Yeah, 27 years president. I'm sure you're proud of President Duterte. He has the highest, and I still think he still has the highest approval rate of any president in the Philippines. I know he was very ambitious to rid can soon be our country, the Philippines, of drugs. He said he could get rid of it in 6 months. Well, that's not true. I think he also said the drug problem was worse than what he thought it was. It's I don't notice it where we are in the Philippines, but yeah, it's still an issue. You've rented a scooter several times, buying one soon. Well, you're going to be in the Philippines soon. What, 20, 25 days, something like that? Maybe you can be like Rika and get a scooter and drive around and see different places out there. I remember his video when he first bought a scooter for the very first time and would go out in some remote places and practice and drive around. That's what I would have to do. Get out there somewhere where there aren't many people and the landings are soft. You know, if you happen to take it to the ground. Ooh, got an accident. I'm sorry to hear that, Zonlin. Uh, was it an accident because he wasn't used to operating it, or was it something in traffic? The traffic I worry about. Oh, a Pinoy driver bumped into him. Yeah, the driver in the Philippines seemingly never get into accidents, like car accidents or car and sidecar and scooter accidents. They just have great instincts on how to avoid collisions usually, and hopefully that wasn't a serious accident that your husband had on the scooter. A lot of people in the Philippines don't even wear helmets. Um, some do, which is good because you have to here in the States. Um, some people don't out there in the Philippines. Um, yeah, well, John, that's cheating. You've got so much experience with that. But no, it's not cheating. Good for you. I've never been on a scooter or motorcycle. Michael and Heidi just joined in. Hey, Michael, glad you're here. We started out talking about what it was like when I met my wife for the first time in person, how I kept thinking to myself, shouldn't I be more nervous than this? Shouldn't I be uncomfortable? Shouldn't I be not ashamed, but just self conscious about this? Never felt that way. Ever since I met Isa in the Philippines, it was just like, it was anticlimactic. It was like, okay, I came to marry you. Now we're married. Now let's live like husband and wife. And we have. We've both totally been invested in each other. I have tremendous passion for my wife. I have tremendous feelings for her. She's very wonderful. I'm the emotional one in our family, I guess, the two of us. Not that she's unemotional, but I am definitely more emotional than she is. And and you know, it's just a wonderful experience. Never felt uncomfortable, and I kept telling myself, why does this feel so easy? Why is this going so well? Why am I not uncomfortable? I guess I just felt I had thought about marriage for so long, and I knew we were going to go to get married, and we were concentrating on all the details, the wedding preparation, and then you got the visa, and we got married, and we just haven't. It was a seamless transition for me from a long, long, long time of being alone, which is again, I wondered how come this is so easy for me. When it's right, it's right. When it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Always watch drivers there. Sometimes they're careless. My husband is a very good driver, but a Pinoy careless driving. Um, Sometimes I think the Pinoy drivers maybe drive too much. Tell me, Zona Lynn, what you think about this. We had a we went to People's Park. We caught a jeepney, and man, it was the bumpiest ride I'd ever been on. I mean, he was flying, but he also looked like he hadn't slept in days. Um, and maybe he hadn't, but sometimes, they have to pay the owner of the jeepney a lot of money, so they're trying to get as many passengers. They're trying to drive as many hours, and that can be unsafe. Here in the U.S., they've now got truckers can only drive so many hours. Then I think they just got to stop. They have to check in somewhere and stop, and it's all carefully logged. But in the old days, they could drive themselves. They take stimulants, drugs, or whatever to keep driving, and it was just an unsafe situation. And maybe some of the drivers there, although they know what they're doing, maybe they're overworked sometimes. to try to make good money. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Phil Phoenix, congratulations on your wife's schoolwork. I know she's probably been at it for a few years. Is a graduation coming up, or has it already taken place? I thought she had a little bit more schooling yet to do. Uh, Anytime you're on a cycle of any kind, you need to remember you will lose any accident you're in. Yeah, and adjust your driving accordingly. So um, you have to be very, very cognizant of a lot of things. I feel safer in a car. Safest place is in a plane. I'd rather not be 30,000 feet above the ground going 500 miles an hour, but that's the only way we're getting to the Philippines. That's for sure. One more class after you get back in August. And she walks the stage October 17th. Are you going to have a video on that? I'm sure you're going to be very proud of her, and you should be. Um, um, yeah, you have a very hardworking wife. Phil Phoenix has a YouTube channel, and Michael and Heidi are recently married or engaged. I know other people, Michael, and I can get them mixed up. Please let me know if you are recently married or engaged. I just want to know before we sign off tonight, uh, Michael and Heidi. I think I think you got married, right? Um, Past the engagement stage. So, Zone and Lynn, it was a pleasure having you stop by here and tell us about your life in the Philippines and New York to now Texas. Recently married, yeah, February. Genson, is it Jensen Genson? Phil Phoenix, do you know where that is? Process for her mama. Yeah, for her mom and papa to get visitor's visa to come for her graduation. Wow, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? I know Isa's talked about having her parents come up here. Um, they wouldn't have any desire to live here, but don't you think it's going to be difficult to get that visitor's visa, John? Because I know I couldn't even get Isa to visit here after we were married. Because of the overstay risk thing. General Santos. Okay, dummy. General Santos. Sorry about that. Uh, Near Davao, few hours west. Yeah, General Santos City. We'd like to do some sightseeing when we go in for Christmas and New Year's. Going to be there for a month. I certainly want to break out some different type videos from there. I want to do a month series while I'm there, something called expat trial run, because this will be for me what's going to be like living in the Philippines. We'll be in our house, we'll be in there with the heat and the roosters, and her family will be there for the whole time. And I actually like to visit a couple YouTubers if I can, make connections with them later. That would be kind of nice because I would like to know some other Americans while we're there, just like Isa would like to know some other Filipinas and when she got here. So that whole thing is going to be about what it's like now that I'm there. What would retirement be like? What are my thoughts with everything, with being there? So that'll be coming up in December. I'd like to do some live videos on Facebook, daily uploads to YouTube. We think it shouldn't be too bad because they're both older, beyond working age. He's getting SSS payment. They own property, so not in the overstay risk group. If you're sure, then that might be happening. Um, yeah, that'd be terribly exciting, I think. Once you really love your Filipino wife, you learn to love her family and embrace them. You see how important they are to her, so hopefully they become important to you. And I'm going to have some videos on retirement and different ideas before. I've already written them, I just haven't done them. Do them before we go, and then do a whole month on retirement there, what it would be like. Hopefully that'll help the channel, because I know being there helps, and the topics will be different, and basically it'll be about retiring there and what it's like. I'll get a sneak preview of it for a month. Manny Pacquiao's from General Santos City. See, I didn't know that. Um, when I was there, Pacquiao was fighting. Was it Merrifield? Merrifield. That doesn't sound right. That's Holyfield. Who am I talking about? It wasn't Holyfield, or was it? 4 years ago. Uh, I just don't know my boxing. I'm going to have to learn some boxing. That's something else that's very popular. Who did he lose to, Pacquiao, 4 years ago? We were there. We watched it tape delay. Uh, Pacquiao got beat. His opponent pretty much was on the defensive the whole time and forced Pacquiao to beat him. Mayweather. There you go. Thank you, John. It was Mayweather, and he kind of just protected himself, and it was pretty smart. He was basically saying, Pacquiao is going to have to be the aggressor and beat me, because I'm not going to beat myself, and I'm not going to let him beat me. He's going to have to really be impressive, and apparently it worked. He just kind of kept him at bay and at arm's length, and he was the champion, I think, before, so it wasn't enough to unseat him, take his belt away. So Pacquiao is still boxing. He looks great for what, 40 years of age. Um, Phil Stefanix and I looked like that when we were 40, didn't we, John? But not anymore. Now we resemble George Foreman more than Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. It was Mayweather. But yeah, Pacquiao's in great shape. But how many blows? How many blows can you take? Pacquiao, General Santos. Yeah, a gym in the park, downtown. Also, he built a very nice church. That reminds me. Yes, he is a great role model. Yeah, okay, I agree with you, John. What a sports star should act like. Be a role model. These athletes say, and they've got a point. Well, nobody's forcing anyone to look up to us, but they do, because they're in the limelight. These young boys idolize Pacquiao, and they want to be like him, or basketball players. The women admire him. So they really are. And yeah, we've been to the Philippines. I've been there several times. Pacquiao's on about every other commercial. Have you noticed that? If it's not a Jollibee commercial, Pacquiao's in there, selling something. And he sounds like a very outstanding individual. He's a senator out there. I'm probably going to like him a lot. Kind of wish he'd hang up the gloves here soon before he gets hurt. And Isa was pointing out to me, here's some places that, Pacquiao bought, or Pacquiao made for some other people, some poor areas of town. And, he's probably got a very luxurious place to live in, but he deserves it. He's very generous, giving back to the community. He's a model citizen, and I want to be a model expat when I get there. I want to be the type of person that the Philippines wants to have in their country one of these days. Born in Cebu. Yeah, born again. That's what Isa said. And no, Michael, I have not heard his testimony. I probably find it on YouTube. Yeah, he's a pretty cool individual. I couldn't pronounce his name to save my life, for about 6 months, and I know I can't spell it. Um, but it's Pacquiao, right? Manny Pacquiao. At least I should sound like I know something about the Philippines. Um, Michael, we're gonna, both of you guys, whoever's still here, gonna do another video soon. We're gonna be about listening to just plug the next video. When your Filipina speaks, you should listen. The series is a 10-part series on how to not communicate with your Filipina. And so, as I've been married for 4 years now, I've learned what works and what doesn't. Um, and so, learning to listen is very important, and we're going to be talking about that. I might tape the video tomorrow and release it in a few days. I don't know. It's almost starting to get late for me. I felt really good today and this week, so I thought I'd do a surprise live. And I always appreciate everybody here, here participating. And I was glad to see Zonalyn Filipino Life USA um, adding her insight from her experiences here. So, everybody, I need to go work on putting this thing together and then hitting the sack. I always say nothing good happens after 8 o'clock because I'm an early bird and I don't have much energy after 8 o'clock. But I like running around early in the morning. But the downside is you tire out early. My wife is just the opposite. Go figure. But that's all part of married life. I didn't ask her before we got married a lot of questions. Um, Too late now. We just get used to each other and we learn to make decisions best we can. Yeah, of course. Only 5:30. I know you got 2 hour time zone difference there in Phoenix. So good for you. You've got the whole rest of the afternoon. I feel like it's 11 o'clock already, so I'm starting to slow down. The coffee is starting to wear off. So I appreciate everybody being here tonight, and anybody that happens to still be here later, let me know what your thoughts were when you first met your Filipina in person. Were you uncomfortable for any reason at all, and why do you think that was? Yeah, sorry, I got to go here, Michael and Heidi. I'm glad you stopped by. Phil's to Phoenix, JBud 5000, and again, Zonalyn, Filipino Life USA. I don't know when I'll do another live stream, but I hope everybody can come back. And then early on here, uh, we had Johnny Karate stop by, Big Rob stopped by earlier uh, of wrestling fame, and he also has a YouTube channel. So that's it. Hour and 37 minutes. So I invite you to follow me on Twitter and like my Facebook page if you are so inclined. Until next time, everybody have a good evening and a good week and a good Independence Day here because that's coming up next week already, 4th of July. So long for now. This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.